Hey y'all, this is A-Train Builds, and you might have seen previous videos, and those were talking pretty much about why I've launched this channel, talked a little bit about my son and his Lego passion, talked about some of the community and people I've gotten to know both at the Brickworld conventions that I've been going to for a while, as well as some of the early engagements that I've had on social media. And those videos I thought were important for a couple of reasons: to help get the channel just launched, but also to provide a baseline for everything to come. So this video is actually the first real video about what I'm here to do. And so everything else was why, some of the background, some of the core, but now we're getting on with it. So I want to talk about what I've been teasing in those previous videos around this project that I have in mind, and this thing, this idea that has stuck in my head that I haven't been able to let go of for the several weeks now that it's been since Brickworld completed. I'm committed to this, and every single day I've been doing work on this, and I've decided it's time, baby. It's time to announce what this project is. And I will tell you, my hope for this is to not just hold myself accountable for the progress I need to make over the next year, which I honestly have no idea how I'm going to do this. But I also want to give you that insight of the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ugly of this build process, because any mock builder is going to have that. And I think mine might be a little bit more amplified because of some of the challenges around what I'm going to try to do. And then part of it is going to be helpful because this project lends itself to a lot of iterative steps. A lot of small things lead to bigger things, lead to bigger things, lead to better things. And this project could actually end up taking several years. I see there being avenues that I could go down where I don't know when I ever call this done. And I think like many Lego builds probably fit that description, right? I think you see many people who've started, I'm going to build a single building. And then all of a sudden you see, I've now built Manhattan over the last 25 years, right? That's the kind of thing that happens in this space. But I've been watching a lot of the content. I can't get enough of it actually in the Lego community. And it's telling to me that people's passions run deep, but I also recognize I don't get going with sets. I have a set on the shelf over there that I haven't done yet, and I've owned it for 8 months. And it's because that challenge isn't quite the same, isn't really what I'm seeking. I like to solve the puzzle. I like to solve the problem. And if I sit there with an answer key, I'm kind of just following instructions, which can be meditative, relaxing, fun in its own right. But to me, that's not why I'm here. That's not my thing, right? You always have to find your thing. I've talked about this in career circles for a long time. What is your thing? Do you ever find your thing in your career? Most people don't. Most people stop trying to even find one. They don't even think they have one. And then you see someone like my son who's Lego's his thing. It's gonna be his thing, and that's his thing, right? And so that, you envy that. And I was lucky enough in my career that I knew kind of what I did. I was this data leadership, data strategy person, building technology and helping organizations use data to improve what they do, right? And that was the thing that I always did. But I worked for 15 different companies over 25 years because I could never find the where. I never understood how I connected, where made sense. How does Anthony and his unique brand of crazy fit into whatever? And I never could find it until I started working for myself. And that really taught me, that's because nobody thinks quite like you, and you really need to not listen to people. At least that's what I keep telling myself. But regardless, to know what your thing is in business is an incredible gift. And that's something that with Lego, I kind of think I might have found it as well. So before I tell you exactly what this is, I want you to think there are some things that I'm long been interested in, things that I'm good at, things that I'm not good at. So obviously technology is something that I'm passionate about, the data side, the programming side. So you could imagine a project, a massive project that Anthony would be interested in is probably going to involve some sort of robotics or motorization or programming or what have you. You would be correct. So that's step one, check one. We're going to be using some pie bricks. We're going to be using some motors, and we're going to be doing some things that I don't know if they've ever been done before. I don't believe they have, but we'll get to that. Second thing is I don't do art. I mean, I guess I do art, but I don't do art in the like aesthetic scenery or, I mean, you saw how the baseball mitt turned out. It was functional. Yes. It wasn't particularly, I don't know, looking like a baseball mitt, which might cause me some challenges down the road because this will need to look like something in the end. But I definitely have more of that engineering mindset and more of that wanting to solve a technical problem more than I want to build something beautiful. Fair enough. So that led me down a path saying, well, what could I do uniquely well that might be interesting to do? And so one thing that you wouldn't know about me, I don't know that many people do, is that I've always been fascinated. I've always enjoyed music, but I never really knew how to engage with it. Like I love listening to DJs that collect and play their music sets and do the production. I don't get super into like EDM or anything like that, but I appreciate it for what it is, right? I said, though, it would be interesting to see not just decorative pieces, just artistic pieces of instruments, but something that you could actually play music with would be interesting to me. And so I'd always had a particular interest in player pianos, especially. So pianos that would play themselves. I always thought that it was kind of cool because if you think about it, even a rock concert, go to a rock concert, go to a massive concert somewhere, you can hear the band, but you're hearing that band through speakers still. Like it's a live performance. Yes, you're seeing them probably at a distance if you can afford the tickets I can afford, but you are hearing the music reproduced by speakers. And I always found that that's a little bit sad because I'm like, I just want to hear them play and sing without all that technology in between. And so I always found player pianos really interesting because now you've coupled that technology to the instrument itself. So the instrument can play with programming behind it. And so I'm like, that's kind of interesting, but a player piano kind of has been done. And I don't know that that's really got me going. But then I thought, well, I don't know if I even have ever seen a self-playing guitar. And I said, that's kind of interesting to me. And so I started looking up to see, are those even a thing? Because I like guitars, but I've tried to play guitar. I am not a guitar player. I got big old sausage fingers. I like that. The whole thing is not going to be for me. But I've always been fascinated by guitars, and I really love, good guitar music. And kind of across all things from blues to rock and roll, Carlos Santana to banjo, like any kind of string instrument like that, I find interesting. So as I said, okay, is there such thing as a self-playing guitar? It turns out there is. I've seen some. They're oddly complex, but they seem to do a reasonable job. And I said, I don't have to do the same thing that those kind of real world ones do. And so I started to think about this and I started to say, okay, well, say I was going to do a self-playing guitar from Lego, which is the project. So big reveal, self-playing guitar. But it's more than that and less than that, because what I realized is that there's inherent disadvantages and advantages in doing something with Lego. Obviously, you have the constraints of the system, most notably, and we'll talk about this, that it's all plastic. Which might cause me challenges when it comes to stringing something at extremely high tension. We'll cover that in a minute. I got a couple ideas there. And again, this is a project that's going to have a lot of that of, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. And I'm going to try something and we're going to go from there. But when I thought about, okay, the constraints of a real self-playing guitar is that in the real world, you have a guitar and then something playing it. So you see like this robot that's around the guitar. I said, well, I don't have to do that. I could just make the guitar play itself. So if you think, instead of being like a robot over a guitar where you're pushing down the strings and you are strumming from the top, you could actually have motorizations, and instead of pinching down on the fretboard on the strings, you could actually lift the fretboard up. So we might try that. So what from like a first principles point of view, what is the easiest path to creating something that is ostensibly a self-playing guitar? And so I thought about, okay, well, how might I enable motors to move things? I can move things up and down the neck, assuming I can find a way to string this thing. Now, understood, Lego doesn't make guitar strings. We will have to use real guitar strings. I'm willing to make that accommodation. But I'm thinking about ways that we might be able to do things in a more straightforward manner than having a guitar and then having that guitar play itself. Why not say, let's see if we can't engineer this instrument that plays itself natively and is designed to play itself, and that doesn't have to be the same rules. So let's think a little bit bigger. Let's think a little bit bigger about what this might mean. Because on one hand, think about wherever we end up for Brickworld 2027, and we will be somewhere, and I will display what I've got. But it could be an acoustic guitar that perhaps down the road we want to add some electronics to be able to do the amplification with an electric guitar. We could potentially have some limitations on how fast it can play, or anything. There's always ways to make it better. Okay, but what really got me going, this was the reason I decided to do this project above all else, is what's the baseline? What's the minimum viable product? What is the thing that I have to do first? Well, the first thing I've got to do is figure out a way to string a string using Lego so that it can be played, right? I think that's the first thing. String a string so that it can be played like a guitar. Then, second, create a mechanism that can play a single string, single note. And then add in something that can change the length of that string that can allow that string to play different notes. And then make 6 of them, right? So I got some inspiration. There was one thing that definitely inspired this that I should give, hat tip to, and that was a xylophone that someone made. And if I can find the link, I will share that link in the description. But they had made like a single automated sequence that was using these balls to play xylophone, and they kind of started small, simply, and then ramped it up from there, and then it was able to play a whole bunch of things. And so that kind of sounded like it was a bit more like a player piano in my mind. But now I was kind of like, but if I could do it with a guitar, wouldn't that be cool? I think the best ideas come from, wouldn't that be cool? So that's where my head is now. So that, to me, it's that idea that I could start with just that simple, can I make a thing, pluck the string, and out of Lego, and I feel comfortable. I can write things in Python. I can certainly find ways to create the code. Doesn't scare me. It'll be work, but that doesn't scare me. The robotics, when I think about each individual piece, I'm like, these mostly seem like solvable problems. I don't see anything in here that seems completely unsolvable, other than obviously the string itself we talked about, as well as the ability to hold the tension. Now, I have a last resort already in mind, so it's good to know, like, at worst, what's your worst case of what you might do? So my worst case is I might use Metal Technic. There is a company that makes Metal Technic pieces that would allow me to have enough strength for sure to be able to do this. I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to start with actually seeing if I can't find a way to hold this tension. And I think one of the cool parts about this is, and about the content side of this, is that we can help each other. You guys might have some ideas. We might be able to come up with ways that, hey, how might we do this? Because to me, the end product is a product of my artistic expression for whatever it is, but the engineering effort is not necessarily a collaboration, but there's opportunities to learn from each other in every direction. And that's something that by putting myself out here and having this conversation with you, maybe we can find a way to do it. And to that end, I think that the other piece I want to do here is, in sharing the journey, is encourage you to have a journey of your own. Maybe it's not Brickworld. Maybe it's just an instrument you can play. Maybe it's just the design of an instrument. Maybe it's something with a motorization, and you thought, hey, you know what, this piece of this would be kind of cool. It doesn't have to be the most ambitious thing in the world. You certainly don't have to create a freaking YouTube channel around it. But what you could definitely do is go on this journey with me. If this is the kind of thing that gets you going, and I don't know how many people it might be that, oh, this is the kind of thing that I would be interested in, but there's one, right? There's one. So for me, that's kind of why I think that this is going to be a fun part of it. Plus, I just like the idea of sharing the story. I just like the idea of letting the story evolve and seeing where it goes and making this commitment to you and to myself that I'm going to see it through. That's one thing I will give myself credit for, is that I typically see things through when I get going on them. And so I can assure you, I'm getting going on this one. And then the other thing I might say is while Brickworld 2027 is the goal, right? I want to have something there. I'm going to do this as reasonably fast as I can, right? I want to have something that is, my baseline would be a guitar that plays itself on Brickworld 2027 table. Like, I want to have that on display. Now, it probably won't be perfect. It certainly won't be perfect, but it might, I might not have it do everything that I want it to do. I don't know where the hardest parts are going to be yet. I think once we solve a couple of these earlier challenges, none of these things seem so foreboding they can't be done. I do think there's going to be a lot of, we're going to get this, it's going to work until we take the next level, and then we're going to have to take a step back. Expect that. That's going to be how this goes. But I have the technical ability to document the work. We're going to be able to share. I'm intending to make the GitHub repository with the PyBricks code available for people. So if you want to check it out or even potentially contribute to it, I'd be interested in that. I'm happy to bring people along on this journey. To me, that's what it's about. This isn't about trying to win a Brickworld award. This is about trying to do something different that in the world of Lego speaks to me. That's what it's about. So I think that's really the goal of what this video is to say, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's the truth around why we're here, why I'm going down this path. And I just cannot wait to hear someday a guitar playing a song back to me. It'll be Welcome to the Jungle, by the way. But there will be many other songs, hopefully, as well. But I can't wait to hear the first note. I can't wait to see myself crack a Technic piece in half because I put it under too much strain. I can't wait to try to figure out the gearing mechanism to move the slider or whatever ends up needing to happen to change the lengths of the strings. Each one of these little milestones is a little victory that we're going to have together. And that every defeat isn't a defeat. Every loss isn't a loss because we'll learn something from it. And at the end of it, we'll probably be pretty good at this stuff. And that's really, that's the goal for me, is that I want to be able to do this kind of thing. So let's do it. I get to share in this journey with my son, who's going to be miles ahead of me forever. That's okay. He's interested in different stuff than I am. This is what I want to do. So hopefully you'll come on this journey with me. And if you're interested in building your own project, share that with the community. Share that with in the chat. Meet me I'll be on Instagram a lot. I'm going to try to get live on TikTok. They seem to have higher requirements. I don't have the followers yet, but hopefully we'll get there. And so I'll be trying to share and stream and do all that wherever I can on a fairly frequent basis. But just reach out. This is stuff I'd much rather be doing than work. Right? So please just, think about it. Think about what might get you going and might be something you might want to commit to, and how you might spend some of your evenings. And maybe we can do something really cool. I mean, just you start thinking about this stuff, right? And you start dreaming a little bit. You start thinking about, like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we had a whole band full of self-playing instruments and we could each have our own, part in that band? Like, how cool would that be, right? So there's no limit to what we might do here. I think it's an area that is ripe for experimentation. I think that there's a lot of challenges that we're going to see along the way. But I mean, you go to Brickworld and you realize anything's possible. I mean, you see life-size creations, you see boats in the water, you see, everything that you could imagine. And this might add a little bit something to it. So with that, that's the goal. That's what we're doing. And the videos from here on out are going to be largely talking about the build itself. It's going to be talking about, what am I working on now? How did I get here? What went well? What's not gone well? We'll have live streams of the process actually happening. And, there's going to be some times where you're just tired and you're just like, I'm just going to put on the stream and see if anybody's around and build a set. Maybe we'll do that instead. Right. And because some days you just don't got it. Fine. So I would love for this to resonate with people. That's really my main hope is, does the story resonate? Are people interested? Is this fun? I think it will be. So with that, please consider subscribing to the A-Train Builds channel here on YouTube or on Instagram, TikTok. Those are the big three that I will have A-Train Builds on all of them. And that is, I hope I will see you there, and keep a lookout for the live streams. If there's anything else that I can be providing content-wise or just guidance, if you're interested in building your own thing, just reach out. I'm happy to do this, and I'm happy to engage and have that conversation and help you in any way I can. I mean, that's the thing. People have been building me up to get me to a point where I can do this. And if I can bring others along with me on that, then that's the coolest thing ever. So thank you very, very much. And if you're interested, and if you're doing something else, and maybe it's not an instrument for you, but just throw in the comments. Do you have a crazy ambitious build in mind? Do you have a normal ambitious build in mind? Are you doing something that is a little bit different than something you've done before, puts you out of your comfort zone a little bit? I'd love to hear about it too. It gives me inspiration to see that there's others out there who are trying to take on things like this because they think it might be interesting. They think it might be fun. So thank you for that. Can't wait to show you the first build video that will be coming up very soon. So with that, thank you for joining me on this one, and we will see you on the next one. Welcome to the party, everybody. This is going to be a fun journey ahead.